Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Just 2 minutes more. She's getting ready. We'll start at 6 p.m. sharp.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello, you're ready?
Hi, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, yes, everything is fine. We'll start
Okay.
at
Welcome,
within
ma'am.
60 seconds.
Sounds good. Excellent.
Yeah, yeah, 6 p.m.
Excellent. Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we'll start right now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Good evening, all.
yeah, we'll start right now.
Okay. Good evening, all. I'm Laura, member of National Youth Council of India, Tamil Nadu. It's my pleasure to welcome you all. The National Youth Council of India is an organization formed with an amenable goal of empowering young people to become agents of change of their development. They believe that young people are at the heart of solutions to the world's greatest challenges. They strive to enhance and develop professional skills, standards, and everything else. By helping young people pursue their aspirations, they empower them to contribute to and benefit from the creation of more peaceful and prosperous communities. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge as the President of National Youth Council of India, Tamil Nadu, and board member of the NUAC, South Korea, Mr. R. Vimal. We are grateful to have such an eminent administrator and a man with a vision and mission as our president. The way to develop the best in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. We are privileged to have such a person among us. Welcome, sir. Now I take the opportunity to welcome the speaker. Yogita Ridley is a successful businesswoman, CEO, and founder of Traveling with Me, Myself and I, which offers personal and business developmental services. Yogita wears two different hats: solo travel specialist, personal development strategist, an award winning international speaker, author, and blogger with over a decade of solo traveling experience. Yogita was featured by one of the Australian magazines as Female Changemaker, finalist of an innovative business award and leadership award. She is an advocate for mental health and well-being and dyslexia awareness. Yogita mission is to get every woman to play the role of me without mask or pretend. Yogita passion is solo travel to self-discovery. Yogita vision is helping women to unleash the power of the authentic self through personal development. It gives us immense pleasure in welcoming you, ma'am. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, you can start now.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
I am so excited to be part of this beautiful project that you have going. Youth is obviously the our next generation, and the power of what we do next is super important. And I have two beautiful girls, and this is my passion to see the next generation be the best version of themselves. And this can only happen if we work on a few different things for ourselves. So I first of all want to congratulate all of you for being here right now to jump on this webinar or presentation, so to speak, be part of it, taking your time out to actually sit there and listen to what anybody has got to say. And this is the first step of anyone that's wanting to be the best version of yourself. So whether it is best version of yourself when you are individual, as a business, as an any of those personalities that you have responsibilities for. So we all have different roles. We do um, you know personalities with roles at work, at home, in our social network, and so forth. So I'm super excited to share my story with you and to hopefully empower you with some information that will help you get a better understanding of how mental health and personal development works. So what I really wanted to start off with is my own story, so you could understand who I am and what gives me the right to speak to all of you. Now, before I start my own story, I just wanted to ask you this one question. Have you ever felt like nobody actually really understands you? Nobody gets you, especially your parents, and then school teachers, and then your colleagues or friends, and so forth. So if that answer is yes, I always struggle with people understanding me or people getting me, or I don't actually fit into a society or fit into a group or fit into a my home environment, I will explain to you why I asked this question. And this is where I go back to my own story. So my story actually started when I was a very young girl, and at the age of 6, as we all start school, and so did I. I was no different. I started school. With the schooling system, we all know, we get taught language. We have to read, write, and spell. And I had to do the same. So the first year I started school, I was one of those kids who was super excited to learn and learn as much as I can. So I would have my brain just clicking in and absorbing information. And the information that, you just watch people, you learn from that, you hear people, you learn from that, you read things, and so forth. So I was, in my mind, I was no different to any other child in that classroom, except I was very different. I wasn't one of the same, so to speak. But on the outside, I looked exactly the same. I had 2 eyes, 2 ears, nose, and, I spoke similar to them. I dressed up similar to them. So it wasn't obvious. And when you're actually dealing with something that is not obvious, you don't know when or how to relate to everybody when you feel different, when you feel like you don't actually belong. So what started happening is I started feeling like people are actually laughing at me. To go a little bit more deeper into explaining what I'm trying to tell you in my story is that I'm actually dyslexic. What does that mean? A lot of people have very different understanding of the word dyslexic. It's a neuro diversity, and there is a lot of different versions of it as well. So you could be mild dyslexia, you could be very extreme dyslexia. What dyslexia means is you struggle with reading, you definitely struggle with spelling, and you also struggle with your writing. And a part of our brain actually doesn't see letters in words. It just feels like it's all just kind of like dancing on the paper. It's like bouncing around. You might have had that expression before. And that's how I saw it. But at the age of 6, I did not realize that was only me seeing it that way. I actually thought everybody in the classroom saw exactly the same thing, but they actually didn't. It was just me seeing it. So we went through to year 8, or no, I should say my age was 8. I think it was year 2 or 3. By then we get started to do spelling tests. So I had to sit my very first spelling test, and I could not get one word right. I was absolutely useless. Like there's nothing I could do. I learnt them. I went home and did what the teacher said. I came back, and when the spelling test started, I did not get one right. And I couldn't understand how everybody got theirs right and I didn't. When it started to become a thing where teachers started to embarrass me in front of the class, like I was the dumbest kid in the classroom. Also, the peers in the classroom, they started to laugh at me. When teacher says, oh, guess what? We have another hero. The hero means I got the zero. So, she's trying to embarrass me because in her mind, the teacher thought she was doing the right thing. By embarrassing me, she will motivate me to learn the words. So when I come to do the exams next time or the tests next time, I will get them correct. But it wasn't that I was not trying to learn. It wasn't that I was lazy. It wasn't that I was stupid or dumb either. It just was so hard for my mind, my brain, to actually capture those words and learn them in a way that I could spell it when the spelling test was given to me. So struggling through this process of not knowing how to spell those words when I need to. Doesn't matter how hard I tried, I could not learn them and then could not get them right. And then it went to high school. And as we all know, high school is hard enough as it is. There's pressures from parents, there's pressure from school, there's pressure from your colleagues because you're trying to compete with them as well because you want to be the best version of yourself. But what does happen in this process, for me especially, I actually lost all my self-esteem, self-confidence. I really believed, by now in high school, I started to really believe what teachers told me in my primary school, that I was stupid, I was dumb, and I really don't belong in school system. One of the teachers said to me, I was embarrassment to the society, I was embarrassment to the school, I was embarrassment to my family, because they knew my family really well. And all my brothers and sisters were geniuses, except for me. I could not spell or read or write. So what happened after that, when you get to high school, you have this brain tattoo in like a subconscious level that you believed what teachers told you. You believed what the society tell you. You believed what your parents told you. In my case, my parents were really supportive. They were never like making me feel like I'm stupid or dumb or, not working hard enough. So that was my bonus. I really held on to that. That was really beautiful support that I needed. But some of you beautiful people out there actually don't get your parents' support because they don't understand you. They actually lack the understanding, not because they don't want to, it's just because this information is not out there. It's not available for people to come in and jump on board and have that support system for you because they know what you're going through. So as a teenager, you really struggle. And I really struggled. I started to be, one of those kids who would just literally hide the whole way through. I would avoid teacher contact. I would avoid putting my hand up for any questions. I'll be the last one in the classroom and first one out of the classroom. I avoided everything humanly possible to not be there. Then I went into university and I started to do a degree for Bachelor of Commerce, specializing in accounting and economics. And by now I'm working my backside off. I'm giving 110%. It's my brain doesn't work that way. So I have to work harder to be normal like every other child in the classroom. So by now I have got this low self-esteem, low confidence, and don't believe in myself. And all I am doing is providing people's expectations, fulfilling them, I should say. So I am fulfilling my parents' expectations. I'm fulfilling the society's expectations. My sisters and brothers are blossoming. So I need to keep up with that as well. So the pressure of all of these things are just literally weighing on my shoulders, and it feels so heavy, like I'm suffocating. The suffocating part of like, I can't breathe, I don't belong here, I don't fit in, I have got to get out. It's almost like you stuck in a little cocoon And there's no space. There's no space, and you need to break somehow to get out of this. Doesn't matter how hard I tried, I didn't know what that break was, how to break free from this cocoon. And the more I pushed, the more I got frustrated. The more I pushed, the more I felt so alone. The more I pushed, the more I felt like nobody understands me. I actually really thought I was the only one with this problem. I didn't realize dyslexia was a thing that 1 in 5 people actually have. And I really thought this was my weakness. That dyslexia was my weakness. I can't spell, I can't read, I can't write. I can do them now, but not perfectly like you could, or most of you could. And just because that was the weakness of the dyslexia mind, I really was all that. That's all I knew. That was it. Then about second year in uni, I got diagnosed properly what dyslexia means. And once they actually told me that I'm dyslexic, what a dyslexia mind does, I went in and studied everything about dyslexia. And I didn't just stop there. I went in to study more about how our brain works, the neuroscience behind everything we do, who we are, and what makes us do things the way we do. What makes us tick, what makes us excited, what makes us sad, all of those things. Then I started to go a little bit more into my own journey of finding me. And next level after that was you're learning more. Like my own journey of finding me took me to India, my very first trip to India. And I loved everything about it. I know people say to me, like in Australia, which is where I live now, people say to me, it's so noisy, it's so dirty, it's so loud, and this and that and the other. I did not care. I just felt like I belonged. I mean, I look Indian, but I was not born in India. So I didn't fit into that group anyway. Like they looked at me like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Like I went to a temple and everybody was just staring at me. And I thought, I don't really care. I really felt like I was at home. It felt home for me. And that was the journey of me finding who I am. So after that, I wrote a book called Finding Me, Myself, and I. In the book, I talk all about my journey, all my struggles, all my pain, and all my, everything that I felt, my depression as well, because the whole journey took me into depression. And coming out of depression and taking that big step out of my comfort zone and traveling was the only way I could break free from that cocoon that I was talking about, that cocoon that kept on making me feel like I'm so suffocated and I can't breathe. After I stepped out of that cocoon, the very first thing I did was I went on a solo travel. Now, solo travel, people think that when it's just traveling, so it's fun. And if you're traveling alone, people normally have this perception that you are actually a loser because you're by yourself. And for me, it didn't matter. I already felt like a loser. Everybody told me I was a loser. So I just thought, oh, well, what the hell? I'm just going to go. I'm just going to go and just be a loser in a different town. So I booked a ticket from to London, flew from Brisbane to London. And when I arrived in London, I had a total different perception of who I am, because everybody in that town, everybody that was around me, it didn't matter. They don't care who I am. They didn't want to know who I am. I was just this tiny little fish in this big, huge pond. So when you are just this tiny little fish in this big, huge pond, you start to kind of like shift your mind to, it's not all about me anymore. It doesn't matter. What does matter is how you connect with everything around you now. So the shift becomes not on the outside, not what people think, not what people do, not what people say. It changes to what you think, what you do, and how you feel. and what you say to yourself. That was the biggest shift. So after that, I did quite a lot of different solo traveling, and I actually love it. It is my passion. And also, I use that as a personal development tool. So the tool that, teaches you things more about yourself. It gives me more insights of who I am, keeps adding to what I already know, and then start learning about more things that is powerful about me, makes me empowered as well. So going back to the first point of my story is that knowledge is power. I know people have got lots of different perceptions on this, but for me, knowledge is power. And the more we know the facts, the more we know what actually real facts about yourself is. Like for me, knowing the fact that I'm dyslexic and what dyslexic mind actually does. So the weaknesses and then the strengths, and those two put together, what it is capable of and how to manage the weaknesses. It gave me power. And that power just literally kept on unleashing one step after another, because I also found that there were lots of people who were geniuses in this world and they were dyslexic. Like Einstein, Picasso. So these people I looked up to. I literally studied them and adored them as a child. So now I'm sort of like connected more to this because I have got the same brain as they did. So now this is empowering me instead of making me feel weak and only concentrating on my weaknesses. I am concentrating on my strengths and only my strengths because they are my gifts. One of the very absolutely blessing is the gift of dyslexic mind is we are great storytellers. We tell stories that actually really makes people connect. And that was my power. I started to do a lot more of this. Public presentations, public speaking at schools, speaking in women's organizations and all over the country and all over the world as well, not just in Australia. So it started to really connect and I started to feel really good about myself, coming from no self-esteem to really connecting and becoming a lot more confident and having some self-esteem. That started to happen because I started to give back to the society. So here's another shift that is extremely important. So the first one is knowledge is power. The second one is it is never about you. It is never about you. If you always do things that is only going to benefit you, you are not going to come out of that cocoon that I was talking about. And when we are young, and I know you guys are young, you're the youth of India and you are the future of our next, generation. It's hard to understand when I say this, that it is never about you. But start thinking in this process, in this sense, so to speak. Imagine if you were to do everything your father does for a whole day, go to work, do this, do that, do the other. I know some of us don't have much respect for our parents. Some of us do have respect for our parents, but we don't like their rules and regulations. Some of us get very spoiled by our parents because our parents actually are too busy working, so they just throw money at you instead of actually connecting and spending time with you. So going back to my question, imagine if you were to stand in your father's shoe for the whole day, doing everything he does from the minute he wakes up to the minute he goes to bed, that all day, everything he does, goes to work, does whatever he has to do, come home, does whatever else he does. When you really examine it, when you really dissect the whole thing, it is not for himself. He's making that money. He's providing that lifestyle for you. It is for you and everybody in his household. So we forget to appreciate the simple things. Same thing about your mother. Imagine being in your mother's shoe. The second she wakes up, cooks, cleans, gets everybody organized, all those things that you rush, and gets everybody to where they need to be. Most of the time I hear people say to me, if they didn't have their mother around, they will not know what's happening next. And I know some of you might be still living with your parents, might not be living with your parents, but if you didn't have them around, if they were not there to support you, or they were not there to financially support you, or they were not there to emotionally support you or physically support you, how would it be? What would it be like? What will life be like? So when we start asking these questions, then we start to appreciate. And that brings me to my third point. The third point is gratitude. When we are young, we don't appreciate. We don't appreciate what we have. We don't appreciate who we are. We don't appreciate what we want to, we are blessed with, so to speak. I was the same. When I was a teenager and a young child, I didn't appreciate much either. I honestly was embarrassed of the fact that I looked like Indian, because growing up in Western world, everyone's, white and blonde and brunette, or, all those different colors, and my skin color wasn't like that. I didn't sound like them. I didn't sound like Indian either. I didn't behave like Westerner. I didn't behave like Indian either. I was kind of like stuck in the middle. So I really hated when people said, oh, you were Indian. It wasn't that long ago I started to really embrace the fact that I'm Indian. Now I am so proud of the fact that I am Indian, because guess what? Being an Indian, I inherited all the beauty of the culture. I inherited all the gorgeous food that we have, and the colorful clothes that we get to wear, and that beautiful language that we speak. It's not just our food that's spicy. Our language is so spicy. There's no translation in English. When you translate it in English, it is blank. It doesn't have the same spice or same kick to any of that things we talk about in our language. So I started to really embrace the fact that I am Indian. I don't need to be anybody else. I just need to be me. And that started with gratitude. When I started to be grateful for all my blessings, it started to get to the place where I started to really appreciate the roots. And when you actually talk about roots, I talk about this in quite a lot of my webinars and my workshops. Imagine a tree. So you have a tree, and then the soil, and then the roots underneath it, if you can imagine that. So when you actually take a tree out, cut the roots off, and then put the tree back in again, I can guarantee you that that tree will die. And this is what I found when I visited India the first time. Most of the youth, most of you young guys and beautiful girls, you are so mad about leaving India. You're so, like, your whole manifestation, your wish is about leaving India to Europe or to US, to Australia, to wherever. I can tell you, life is not better anywhere else. It is only better where you are 100% you, and you have invested in your mindset, and you have worked on your mental health, your emotional health, and your physical health. Life is perfect exactly where you are, because it doesn't matter how far you run, which country you go to, how you change your location, how you dress, how you speak, nothing helps, because it's all on the outside. What does help is what's on the inside, and that's what I do. I help people with their personal development. That's my job now, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I studied to be an accountant and economics advisor. Then I went on to go and do owned hotels. I was a general manager for 10 years running a hotel. And doing all that corporate work and chasing money, chasing profit, chasing fame, my ego was on a high drive. I did not feel the happiness that I thought I would. I had a nice car, I had a nice house. My house, you opened the front door, you looked at the beautiful water right in front of you. You can walk to the beach, you can go to restaurants, cafes. Life was beautiful, but it only looked beautiful in the picture. The picture was perfect. But me inside that picture was that little girl who was suffocating and struggling and depressed. Now, if any one of you have felt the depression or have suffered from depression or are suffering from it right now, would know exactly what I'm talking about. It's not a good place to be. Nobody wants to be there. And nobody should be there, to be totally honest. Life is such a beautiful, beautiful gift. We should not be depressed. We should not be suffering. We should not be struggling. So how do we stop all this? What do we have to do for this to stop? And this is the first question I had to ask myself when I actually started this new journey that I called it my self-discovery journey. After I went to London, I came back. And when I came back home, I started this whole conversation with myself. How can I change this? I'm done being depressed. I'm done being, stuck and feeling like nobody cares about me. Nobody loves me. I just felt all those real deep, dark emotions. And if you are feeling those dark emotions, I want you to take a nice deep breath and ask yourself this question. Why do I feel this? Because I have a beautiful gift. That gift is my life. You might sometimes not agree with this when you're depressed. I didn't either. Because I felt like I needed to end my life, to free myself from this whole, I called it chaos. Like it's like a roller coaster thing. Parents don't get you, teachers don't get you, society doesn't get you, you feel lost, you feel unwanted, you feel unloved. You just don't feel like you fit into that big, huge world that we live in. So if you feel all those things, I know it is hard to actually believe what I'm saying, that life is a beautiful gift, because I didn't believe it either. But at one point, that just tiny little moment, and that tiny little moment that made me go, I can't end my life. I don't want to, because there's something inside me. There's like a little whisper, like a little voice, almost like people call it gut feeling, or like a whisper of your soul. Whatever your beliefs are, I can guarantee you that it doesn't matter how bad you think everything is right now in your space, in your environment, at home, at work, all those struggles, I can guarantee you it's your perception. It is all in here. And in here is what our reality is. So that's another catch-22, because what's here is our reality. What everything's happening outside is in here. So how do we stop this circle of going round and round? So I actually have a really good list of things that I actually work with when I work with people, how to stop this circle of, what's outside coming in, what's inside going out. So I call this my 7 tips on mental health. 7 tips of mental health. Now, why would you need 7 tips on mental health? Everything starts with your mind. It starts with your thought. Say, for example, if your thought went to a place where you told yourself, you are extremely powerful. That thought triggers your action. That action becomes your reality. Now you have done something, and that's now your real world. It is actually happening for you. But at the same time, if your thought was, I am useless, guess what that thought is going to create in action? It's going to create the same thing. It's going to create, I am useless as an action. And as that action happens, that becomes your reality. So when we start here, we need to change our thoughts. Sadly, it doesn't happen like this. I wish it did, because if it did, we could just do that. And that's where people are confused, because when we are given all these things, start with your thoughts and be positive. You can't be positive 24/7. And I normally use this as an example in my workshops, and people always laugh at this. It's like if you sit inside your house and you have, like, just imagine a whole sink full of really dirty dishes, and you need to get up there and you need to wash them. But you just sit there and you go, I am thinking that dishes needs to be clean, but you don't take any action. You actually have to get up and clean them. That's the action. And that becomes your reality then, that you have got a clean dishes, or, you've just cleaned your dishes. The example of that is, you can't positively think that the dishes will be clean and the dishes will just be clean. The action needs to be put in place. So there's steps involved in this whole process. And if we don't do the process, positivity doesn't work. You can think positive till cows come home, as the saying. It won't happen. It just won't happen. So don't rely on positive thinking. Positive thinking is a tool, but it only works when you actually have everything else in place. So positive thinking only works when action happens, then your reality happens. So hopefully that makes sense. I do want to say, if anything I say, and if you have questions about anything I say, I do have like a social media platform. So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I know right now you're not able to ask me questions, but feel free to ask me questions on these platforms. You can follow me on Instagram, which is Yogita_Ridgley. And I would really appreciate questions. I would love them. And on Facebook as well, you can follow me on Facebook, Yogita Ridgley, or the other platform I have, the other name I have is Traveling with Me, Myself and I. And they're both on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow me on that as well. And I normally post quite often and do quite a lot of lives on how to keep your mental health, emotional health, and physical health in a way that actually serves you, so you can be the best version of yourself. So I would love questions. I would really love questions. If you, if you don't want to ask them in the comments, you can send me a private message. But only to do with all of these things that I'm talking about, not like, anything else, because it is managed by my, VA. So I normally only get the ones that are important. So that would be amazing. So going back to my very quick 7 tips, because I know, and I really want to leave this with you, so you can actually use this and start this like from today. Or obviously we're getting to be evening there now. I'm guessing it's like about 7 o'clock. It's 11 o'clock here in Australia, 11 p.m. I should say in Australia. So we are all kind of like committed to this. So I'm really excited that you're still here and enjoying this presentation. So my 7 tips about maintaining good mental health. 1 is connection. Connection is super important. When I'm talking about connection, I'm talking about connecting within, connecting with yourself. If you can't connect with yourself, you're not going to be able to connect with people on the outside. And that was my story. I was connecting with the world. I was really depressed because what the world was saying about me. But when I reversed that whole story to what I think about me, how I feel about me, how I connect with me, the whole thing changed. And depression, gone. Anxiety, gone. Everything just disappeared. Now, the biggest level of connection right now, people, and I know this doesn't sound right because it is the age of technology, age of internet, age of everything happens in a click. You press a button, you've bought something, you swipe, you've paid for it. It just happens so quick and so fast. We are in an age of like craziness and chaos. In this craziness and chaos, being online, being on internet, being in front of a screen 24/7 is disconnecting. It's disconnecting with yourself, disconnecting with your own power, your own opportunities that are actually lying right in front of you. But because you're stuck here on this screen, just scrolling down, like, no tomorrow, watching things that are not adding any value to your life, listening to people on this, like, we entertain ourselves. That's all it is. It's entertainment. So if we spend less time doing this and more time reading, more time connecting, more time just simply talking to people who really matter in our lives, that would be amazing. Now, tip number 2 is nature. And nature, I know we all different countries, different towns, everyone has got different nature. So as long as you get to somewhere by the water or river or ocean, in the woods, by the trees, spend time underneath fresh air, sun, and all those beautiful things that we're blessed with, it's free. It's very powerful for our mind. If we spend some time in nature on a daily basis, it literally has got so much benefits. Now, I know you guys are just so lucky because you are in a country that is blessed with over 500,000 years of wisdom, of yoga science and Ayurveda science. It is in your country. You should take advantage of it. I love those different things that I'm even learning now because I have come on board quite late, whereas you guys are born with it. It's right in your back door. Utilize it. It is your powerful tool. The Western world is coming in there and taking it and utilizing it and making the use of all of that wisdom. So why don't you guys? It is right there. And it is not like the Western world has influenced India so much that you guys, it's flipped. The whole thing is flipped. You guys doing what Western used to do and Western's doing what you guys used to do. So go figure. It is right there. The knowledge, the wisdom. Use it. It is not old. Old is not stupid. Old is not heebie-jeebies. People call all sorts of things because they got educated. They think they're smarter than what grandparents and great-great-grandparents and grandparents were. No, it is not. I can guarantee you, the more educated we get, the more we are disconnecting from our roots. And like I said, if we take the tree out, cut the roots off, you will die in no time. It's just the whole system needs to work together. The whole thing from the root to the trunk to the tree, for it to flourish, it has to work together. So take advantage of that. Nature is right there. The next thing, number 3, is a lot of rest. And rest is now very limited for especially youth. And this is scientifically proven. Our youth is spending too much time on the internet in front of the screen. Again, same subject. We're spending too much time doing things that are not good for us. We are either watching TV, Netflix, movies, you name it. It's right in front of the screen 24/7. So we want to stop that. We want to spend more time resting our body, do yoga, do meditation, do things that are really good for your body. Because believe it or not, in Western world, in US, in Australia, big businesses, big companies, they spend money on their staff to actually have a break and do yoga out in the nature for their mental health, because mental health then produces productivity, and that produces good working staff. That makes profit margin look bigger than struggling for last cent. So it all works in every sense. Personal life, business life, it works with the whole lot. So why not utilize it when it's such a simple thing? Rest. Take a break, rest. Sleep, deep sleeps, have rituals, so you have got beautiful hour before you go to bed, so your body, your mind is actually resting. And then when you wake up, you have the same system in place, that your mind wakes up to a right mindset for the whole day to be set in a certain way that creates productivity, creates happiness, provides satisfaction. So it just rolls in that sense. Number four is a powerful one. It's self-talk. Ask yourself, what is your self-talk? How do you talk to yourself? I know we normally talk about other people, like, you're beautiful, look at you, you're doing great. We talk really highly of other people, but how do you talk about yourself to yourself? What do you say when you put a dress on, or when you put a shirt on, or when you're combing your hair, it's like all the hairlines going, or especially women, we say to ourselves, oh my God, I look fat in this. And men, they complain about how hair's thinning. All these things are self-talk that are not good for us. And they start small. There's just tiny little things that we again and again repeat in our head. But then it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger to problems. And those problems are problems like, you can't get a job, you can't get married, you can't have a child, you are struggling financially, you're not, your mother-in-law and you are not getting along. All sorts of different things that becomes from that self-talk, because it's in your head, you're creating problems. And again, going back to the thought process. So pay attention to how you actually really connect, and how you actually spend time in nature, how you actually rest, and then how you do the self-talk. Now, number 5, and this is again very simple, so simple, but what do we put in our body? The water, the food, the toxins, all those things that we put in our body. And again, like going back to the same thing, that you guys are so blessed. You have Ayurveda as your tool, and it's a beautiful science, and it works. It really does. We got so educated that Western science has just literally dismissed it, and we don't really use it anymore or appreciate it. But the knowledge, the wisdom, everything in it, the mind-body connection is so true. It works every single time when you actually use it. The food, how to have the right food for your mood, right food for your guts, and right food for your digestion, right food to sleep properly. So all those things, you it's right there. Utilize it. If you don't know, again, go back to the power of knowledge. Learn them. It's never too late. Doesn't matter what age you're at, whether you're 15 or whether you're 25, there's never too late to learn. 60-year-olds, 80-year-olds, everyone should be learning, because the second you stop learning, your brain stops to function the way it's supposed to. Number 6 is exercise. And the most beautiful exercise you can do is yoga. I know I got on board very late on this, because I spent a lot of time hating being Indian. So, if anybody said yoga, my mind went to this place where if I do yoga, I am actually telling people I'm Indian. The connection between the two. And that was me hurting myself by having that stupid self-talk, because I was embarrassed that I was a Indian girl in a white world. I don't like using the word white world, but I don't really know what else to say. I should say Western world, so I'm not offending people. So I do apologize if anybody hears this and gets offended. That's not what I intended. So when it comes to exercise, you can swim, you can run, you can skip, you can do yoga, anything that your body allows you to do in a way that is not aggressive, because you're not exercising to be six pack and size 2. You're exercising to have good liver, good kidney, good brains, good heart, all the inside organs connecting within. Keep your inside strong. Outside, anything can be thrown your way. It will not break you or shake you. And the last thing is number 7, being the last thing, is meditate. Meditate is perfect for your mental health. And now meditation comes from India. It was born in India. And aren't you guys lucky that you guys are speaking the language that meditation was created in? Because when you translate it to English, we have lost half of the goodness in the meditation. You know, you're chanting, there's lots of different levels of meditation. So, you know, it's not all about just quietening your mind down to no thoughts. So all these different levels of meditation, all these different levels of breathing, all these different ways of doing meditation, and practice your gratitude. In that gratitude is where you actually will find that your power is enhanced. Like when we call it enhanced, it attracts abundance, it attracts more beauty, it attracts more prosperity, it really attracts more of what is good for you. So when you practice gratitude, normally start with within, start with yourself. Say thankful for who you are. I thank myself for who I am every day, because I spent a lot of time hating who I was. So that changed, and as that changed, everything else changed. I have people around me, excuse me, I have people around me that appreciate me for who I am. Before, I didn't, because if I didn't appreciate me, why would you appreciate me? So this is where it comes down to, if you don't appreciate you, nobody else will. And I'm not saying this in a mean way. I'm saying this for you to really start to examine the way you treat yourself and the way you want to be treated, and then shift, change that, start treating yourself with respect. Because the new generation, the youth now, they have got this huge problem. Not much respect is available. They don't respect many things. They don't respect clothes, they don't respect money, they don't respect people, they don't respect themselves. And this is not your fault. I know a lot of us, you know, as adults, I have got 2 daughters, as I said at the beginning. Both of my 2 daughters have the same problem. And then when I started to respect myself, I started to teach them to respect themselves. And that shifted. So a lot of things that you do, you might not know. You have learned them from your parents. Have a conversation with them. Because if you want to change, you could be one of those people who change to make the change around you. So if you want things different, you don't have to blame your parents that they did this, they did that. Like I blamed my teachers, you know, that I did this, they did that for a very long time. It doesn't have to be that way. You can be that person that makes the change. You can be that person that will actually decide that enough is enough, and I'm going to be taking responsibilities for myself. I'm 100% responsible for everything that happens to me, all the good things and all the bad things. So with that, I would like to finish my presentation, finish my talk here. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here, for listening, and hopefully you have taken few information, few insights, and few ideas that you can go away and use it in your life, enhance your life, and get empowered. So thank you for watching. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. There is Yes, what
Yeah.
are thanks?
Very good evening. As quoted by Mr. Santosh Kalwar, it doesn't matter where you go or what you study. What matters the most is what you teach yourself and the world. With these words, first and foremost, I would like to thank our speaker, Yogita Ridgley, for not only spending her valuable time with us, but also for the commendable talk. Thank you so much, ma'am. You indeed inspired
Thank
us a
you.
lot. I
Thank you
thank
for
the
having
audience.
me.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to thank our audience for their rapt attention and hope you found this session informative and useful. Thank you. Finally, I express my humble gratitude to Mr. Vimal, President, National Youth Council of India, Tamil Nadu, for supporting and guiding us as always. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We'll see you. Yeah, thank you.